Hey YouTubers, thanks for checking out my channel, The Cake is a Lie. I came into work early tonight so that I would do this video. I've been wanting to do it, but I haven't had the time. And so I figured if I got here early and sat down, I would actually do this without any distraction or needing to, like clean my house or do my dishes. So anyways, I wanted to post a message to you guys because I felt like I had left it hanging last time with being on a stall, and I know how frustrating that is because I'm still stalled. I lost 5 pounds right after I posted, which was great, but then it stalled again. So I don't know what's going on. And I started working out this week, so we'll see if that helps kind of kick things into gear a little bit. I'm still not too worried about the scale. I lose weight slowly. I gain weight easily, but I lose muscle slowly and I gain muscle easily. So I think that's just kind of part of my genetics. I think it's also part of having the lap band, as I stated before. It seems to be a growing trend where many of the people who have a conversion surgery, they tend to just not lose it quite as quickly. And so I took pictures and I've posted them to my Instagram, and you can check it out there if you want. And I was looking at the difference between then and now, and I didn't do measurements. I took them beforehand, but I haven't done them recently because that's work. But anyways, I was looking at the photos and I noticed a huge difference in the distance that my feet are apart, which is a strange thing to kind of notice as a weight loss, like I guess non-scale victory. But yeah, my stance is like narrower, and I noticed that like it feels like my legs are a little bit smaller and such. In my past, I've never really lost weight out of my legs. Like it's always been top down, stomach area maybe, but my legs have always been pretty big and pretty solid. So it's kind of interesting to see that my legs shrank like early on. That being said, I wanted to actually talk a little bit about something that has nothing to do, well, I don't want to say nothing to do with weight loss, but it has nothing to do with the scale or food. But I wanted to talk a little bit about something I was kind of experiencing mentally before surgery, leading up to surgery, and then recently afterwards. And that's the mentality that if you've been overweight all of your life, really easy for me to say, right? If you've been overweight all of your life, I think that there's a sort of sense of not knowing who you are. And I don't mean as like a personality default. I don't want to be like, oh, your identity is completely encapsulated by your weight and tied up in nothing but that. But I think that there's a sort of sense of like, I think if I had been thin, if I had been 100 pounds, if I had been 150 pounds from the get-go, like when I was a child, I was 150 pounds when I was like 6, 8, something like that. I was big as a kid and very solid and just built like a tank, and I still am, and that's okay. But that being said, like I've always wondered, like, would it be different, if I took ballet class? I never took ballet class. I never took gymnastics, because I was always too thick, too solid, too, I don't know. I played football. I played basketball. I boxed with guys. Like I wanted to do UFC sort of things. And now that I'm a little bit older, like I feel like I went from being a tomboy by default. I was a tomboy when I was a child. I mean, before I even understood what gender was, I was a tomboy. My cousin said that I used to get in trouble for peeing standing up. So useless information you didn't need to know about me, but as a child, I was perfectly capable of peeing standing up like a boy. And my uncle apparently wigged out over that and like told me that was wrong and I don't do it ever again. You're not a boy, etc., whatever. Anyway, I don't remember any of this, but so it's said. I do remember being that way though, and I remember being that way through high school. I had a lot of male friends. I always wanted to do male things. I wanted to work on cars. I wanted to box, I wanted to wrestle, I wanted to play football, all these things. But as I got bigger, and as I got older, it didn't seem to me to fit, I guess is the best word. I became very painfully aware of my size and my weight. My voice dropped in volume. I got very quiet. Even though I'm a very gregarious person, I'm a very outgoing person, I, do improv comedy, like getting up in front of people and making shit up as you go. I became very like, don't notice me. Like I want to fade into the background. And I felt like my size alone was enough to draw attention to myself, and I became very aware of that. And I wanted to walk softer. I wanted to be softer. I wanted to be more feminine. And I felt like being very tomboyish and big was just a misrepresentation of kind of who I was. Even though that's what I looked like, it's a misrepresentation of who I was. And there's this thing, Erik Erikson, who's a psychologist way back when, developmental psychology, there's this thing that he talks about where in your adolescence, when you're growing up, you go through this period of time, and high school is about the dead on target for this, when you're fighting between identity, like who you really are, and role, which is, you know, what everyone else expects you to be. And I think when you're bigger, you are more prone to what does everybody expect me to be? And I think that dictates a little bit of like what you become in that sense. Like I think that dictates a little bit of, I don't know, some of the choices you maybe make. So as I started losing the weight and as I started heading towards surgery even, I started to wonder like what would have been different and what will be different, because I'm curious if it'll change if I ever get to 150. That's what they say. That's the number that they gave me. I'm shooting for 180. I'm down 40 pounds and I'm already pretty happy with where I am. I can lose more, obviously, but I'm not stressing over it or freaking out or feeling very uncomfortable in my own skin. But I'm curious, like, if I was to get down to that size, like, would I have been different? Because I do directly associate, and I shouldn't, sorry, I'm looking for the word, dainty, I guess is the word, body structure with femininity. So some of my like idols, I don't know that that's the right word, but some of the women that I've always kind of admired and looked up to, Audrey Hepburn, Natalie Portman, Keira Knightley, they're all very tiny, ballerina framed. I'm very not. I'm more Marilyn Monroe type shape, very hourglassy. And as the joke goes, just has a little more sand in mine than others. But I have always wondered, like, as I lost the weight, would I dress that way? Will my style change? I don't know. It's so bizarre to me to think that like my weight would have anything to do with if I clean my house more, or if I make muffins and take them in baskets with pretty ribbons to people's homes. I know that sounds insane, but I'm sitting here like thinking, as I say it out loud, I realize I've been thinking these things. Like, I've always wanted to be a certain type of person, and I've never felt like I could really be that person because it doesn't fit with the way I look, if that makes any sense. So to kind of pull that into a little bit of the current affairs, current events sort of thing, I'm going to say this before as like a pre-flight. Anytime I get comments on my videos discussing topics like this, keep it clean, keep it nice, guys, because I don't have any room for hate for anyone, ever. Like, I don't. I accept most people. I accept them as they are. I think that we should support each other. The world is kind of a difficult place and not the happiest of places. And so anytime somebody can search for their happiness and find it, kudos to them. That being said, I am going to mention Bruce Jenner, Caitlyn, and it's been interesting because as I've been sort of thinking this in my head and mulling this over, I had not any clue of who Bruce Jenner was prior to about, I don't know, 3-4 weeks ago. I'd heard the name, but that was about it. I didn't really know or care or follow it. I don't do celeb stuff that much anyways. But seeing that, there's a lot of hype going around about how she's not a hero, or, you know, because she was said to be a hero, whatever. And again, I'm only half-ass following this stuff, so bear with me. But I found it interesting because my thought on this is we are such a society of trying to get people to fit into these very narrow boxes, and we're trying to shove as many people as possible into these very narrow boxes without realizing they're so narrow. And I feel like I've lived 35 years, not the whole time, probably 25 of my 35 years on this planet, stuck sort of in a body that I didn't feel I fit in. Like, I always felt like when I looked in the mirror, like, who the hell is that? Like, that's not what I look like. That is not the size I am. you know, or when I would go to do something, I'm like, crap, shoot, I can run a mile, I can run this, until I try to do it, and then I'm dying, and it's like, oh, right, my body doesn't agree with what's going on inside of my head, my heart, my soul, whatever. So I found it interesting, like this is coming forward, and so many people have so much irritation towards the hero thing about it. And I think kudos to her, you know, to fight for and to find a spot in this planet, a spot in this skin that she's comfortable in finally, you know, and I hope that like all of us, all of you watching, myself included, can kind of find that too, because I think that it's very sad to live a life that you feel you've been cheated out of feeling like the real you. I feel like we fight for that as it is, just trying to, you know, go to the gym, lose weight, wear our makeup, do our hair, dress a certain way, be a certain way, you know, and when we finally get to come to grips with who we are, it takes several years, and a lot of times about the time you're my age, 30s to 40s, you kind of start to get comfortable with who you are. Getting the outside to match is work. And, you know, I think that there is some sort of hero aspect in being brave enough to just stand up and say, hey, I'm not comfortable with who I am, and I am going to change it. And you may not like the way I change it, or you may not like that I have changed it, but I'm going to do what's right by me. So that's what we have to do. Anyways, thanks for listening to me ramble. I wanted to share that, you know, a little bit of headspace stuff, because I know that the whole surgery and the whole after surgery stuff is only a little bit of physical, it's only a little bit of diet, but it's a whole lot of mental and it's a whole lot of emotional. So just wanted you guys to know that there's somebody out there who is feeling the same kind of crazy emotions and thoughts that you are, and you have my support, you have my love. Check me out again in a couple of weeks. I'm going to try to be better about posting, I promise, but you can also follow me on Instagram. I post there quite a bit. And I will see you guys next time. Much hug, much love.